Welcome everyone to the SciManDan podcast. It's episode 37. I hope you're all well. Thank you very much for joining us. He's back. This week he is back, my Everlord co-host. He once got lost in his own garage. It's Catz. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well.
Interrupting your own blimmin' jingle. You're always doing it.
Twice on the trot, mate. Twice on the trot. It's my sole purpose. I was just saying off air, and I think you know that I do like to be consistent in the way I disappoint people with my underperformance. And there we go. I've just ruined the intro again.
It's fine. It's fine. I was defending you and you've just messed it up. That's fine. We're good. Anyway, mate, how you been? Busy?
Very busy. Very good, mate. Very good, though. Looking forward to this. Really looking forward to this today.
Me too. But most important question, I guess, is have you got any fuel?
No.
No. Okay. I've got just under a quarter of a tank, and I haven't actually gone to try getting it yet because I don't actually really leave the house much. But it's a nightmare, isn't it, out there?
Yeah. I've just come back from work now, and on my way to work, I was low. I was on about one bar. I thought I'll just stick a tenner's worth in, and everywhere around me had run out. There was none.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Anyway, mate, I wanted to tell you a fact. My son told me a fact today, and I could not believe it. Did you know that a goose can fly faster than a cheetah can run? Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's a good fact.
Yeah, if it gets a tailwind when it's migrating, it can reach over 70 miles an hour in speed, a goose.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
No, I did not know that.
I thought it'd impress you.
Yeah, I am impressed, mate. Consider me impressed.
Seems as though there's not much flat earth news this week. Anyway, should we get our guest on?
Let's do it.
Okay, joining us this week is one half of possibly the coolest channel on YouTube. You'll almost certainly have seen one of their videos before, unless you live in a cave. It's the Slow-Mo Guys. It's Gavin Free. Welcome, and how you doing?
Good. Thanks. Thank you very much for having me on. How are you guys?
Thanks for coming. We're good. I mean, you are probably YouTube royalty now, would you say?
At what point do you become royalty? I don't know.
When pretty much everyone's watched you. Yeah.
we just sort of exist in the background, though. We're not really trend chasers or anything. I feel like you can check in once every few years and see if we're still going.
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, you live in the US, don't you? But your accent, I would say, if I was a betting man, that you are from less than 30 miles from where I live. I live near Southampton.
I'm from a town called Tame in Oxfordshire.
Ah, okay. So maybe a bit more than 30 miles.
A little bit further. Yeah. This is the south.
Yeah. Anyway, as I say to Catz, anywhere below London is south for me, and anywhere above it is north. He lives in. I keep forgetting where you live, near Burnley, isn't it?
Blackburn, mate. Blackburn.
That's it. Blackburn.
God, yeah. Don't associate me. Oh.
Sorry, mate. Oh, that's the worst one, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, mate, the Slow-Mo Guys channel, like you say, it's been going since 2010. Absolutely love it. Where'd you get the idea for it?
Well, I was using high-speed cameras for my job at the time. I was working in the film industry on lots of commercials, pretty much just all the types of stuff that you see slow-mo, like milk pouring and cereal flying through the air, just anything that needs a little bit of slow-mo. I'd probably work a day or two on it. And there was just a big gap in the market on YouTube at the time. There was some slow-mo footage on there, but it was usually completely silent and was of something without context. So I thought there's a bit of a gap in the market here. We could just host a little show, put some context behind the slow-mo and just show really anything. There's no real rules apart from have slow-mo in it. So pretty much limitless in terms of what we can film. Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, you've done literally everything you could possibly think of. You've done in slow-mo. But when you came up with the roles and stuff for it, I mean, the roles are quite clear. You're obviously the tech guy, and Dan's like the guinea pig sort of, isn't he? Did you just fall into those roles, or did you discuss it first? Or
we did, yeah. We were going to both be in the videos more doing the experiments, but it sort of limits you on how you can film something if there's no one behind the camera. And really, that is my role. That is what I do. I am a high-speed camera person, so it does sort of make sense for me to be operating the camera, maybe getting slightly more dynamic shots. And we have done some stuff where we're both in front of the camera, but it's always a bit boring. It's locked off and the focus is sort of a guess, So I feel like the quality is higher if I'm behind the camera. And Dan is really good at bizarre stuff. So I can be like, can you hit this jelly in this, in 3D space about here, but not up here and not down here? And he'll be like, yeah, whack. And it's just perfectly in frame. So
how many? Because
he's good at what he does.
Yeah, there's a stuff where he cuts the arrow in half, isn't there? Like how many does that genuinely take a lot of takes, or is he generally good at everything?
He is just freakish. It might be luck because sometimes his first attempt is always the best, the best one. And then I'm like, right, now I know what you're going to do. Let's film it this way. And he'll spend, 10 attempts trying to do the same magic that he did the first time. Yeah. But usually anything that, we show happening as the first time in the video is genuinely the first time. And you can usually tell because after 9 attempts of something, be it like shooting arrows or paint going everywhere, you can tell that there's been several attempts by the mess that accumulates in the background of the video.
Yeah, absolutely. I always thought when I watch it, I think that Dan would be really good on the cube. You ever seen the cube?
Oh, the cube. Yeah. He probably would be.
He'd like his hand at everything. Yeah. Talking of the cameras though, those Phantom cameras, they're immense, aren't they? How many have you got, and which is your favourite?
The only one that we own is called the Phantom Flex 4K.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a nice 4K image, but it's limited to 1,000 frames a second, which is actually, that's a lot of frames a second compared to a normal camera. But that's probably the lower end of how fast we typically go on the channel. We wouldn't go less than that.
No.
And then for everything else, if we need an extreme frame rate, there are other cameras. There's a newer one that will do about 80,000 frames a second at 720p.
Wow.
But it's like you need different cameras for different purposes. And to own all of them would be obscenely expensive. So I own only the one that we use the most. And if we need to go faster, we can rent them. And we're very good friends with another really good channel on YouTube called Smarter Every Day.
Oh, yeah.
And we exchange our Phantoms. He has the really fast, lower res one. And I have the not as fast, really high res one. Okay. So if he needs a bigger image, I lend him mine. If I need super duper speed, he lends me his.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Catz, but the more I've watched the channel, I feel like I've become a bit of an expert in that. And you do something and I'm going to be like, right, he's going to lower the, he's going to make a small band in the middle and he's going to increase the frame width. I know he's going to do it. I know it. And then every time you do, because you want to get more speed.
Yeah, he probably as qualified as me at this point.
No, I don't know about that. The most popular video actually on your channel is the giant 6-foot water balloon one, and it's got almost 200 million views. Given all the amazing things you've looked at across your channel, does that surprise you that it's the most popular?
It does. I mean, that was the thing is at the time, popping a balloon of water was the most popular thing to shoot in slow-mo. Okay. If there was a slow-mo clip on any video platform, it was probably someone popping a balloon about this big. So I did think a bigger one, a massive one, would do really well because it's, it's taking that to an extreme. But I thought, maybe a few million. Yeah. 200 million, I always say it's like it's gone to viral heaven. It just won't stop getting views for some reason. It's like once a video reaches a certain amount of views, it gets views because it has that many views. It's like a critical mass of views.
Yeah.
And it really annoys Dan actually because he's hardly in that one. He had to go somewhere halfway through making that video. So I finished it with my brother. So I love the fact that it annoys Dan and that's the most successful one.
I mean, honestly, you've done so. What have you got any personal favorites, Catz, of their videos?
Maybe it's a childhood, but I like the one where you get was it a soccer ball thrown in the face. Just the slow motion reaction. I watched that over and over. That's how I found your channel because my brother showed me that. That's a long time ago now. We were just sat. He was over here. We're having a bit. We must have watched it about 6 or 7 times each time, looking at the different. It was hilarious. Yeah,
that's one of the nice things about slow mo is that you can watch it a couple of times and just look at a different piece of the image. And that one's good because it's a funny one because Dan's getting smacked in the face, but it also does show there's a lot of science to it where you can see the momentum transfer out of the ball and the ball just stops and then all the momentum just continues in his skull under his skin. It's like oddly it's funny, it's gross, and it's interesting at the same time, that one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all your Planet Slow-Mo stuff and anything you do with bullets I love. And the one I laughed at the most is the one where Dan's trying to got the waiter's tray on the treadmill above the big pool of milk. Every time he face plants the treadmill, I crack it up. Love that one.
Yeah, Dan did a lot of hard work that day. Some of them are more intensive on one of us, and that one definitely more so on Dan.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely.
You did well.
Oh, you recently did that one falling into the pool, didn't you, by yourself?
Yeah. We had that was an example of the newer camera that it goes really fast, and I was shooting at 90,000 frames a second, which mathematically stretches 1 second to be exactly an hour long. And I just thought, what would be really weird to look at for an entire hour, and falling into a pool. I just got like an hour of that. So
yeah, you put the whole thing up, didn't you, for the whole
on the
hour.
second channel, I put the unedited hour.
Yeah, I actually watched like 5 minutes of it. I was like, is he actually moving there?
Yeah, it's like it's almost creepily slow.
Yeah,
because you just think of like, what would it be like to exist at this speed? Yeah. It would be impossible to communicate anything. You'd just be lost in time.
Yeah,
you can't really look at anything happening.
Scary to think of. Where do you keep getting your ideas then from? Because you filmed an unbelievable amount of stuff, haven't you? You can't. Are you running out of ideas? You can't be.
No, I'm actually adding to the list faster than I'm shooting. It's always been that way, actually. You can just get ideas looking at anything. I feel like I've just broken my brain in that I'll look at stuff and be like, yeah, that would probably look good in slow-mo. Or you just have an idea in the shower. Yeah. Used to travel a lot, so I'd have a lot of ideas on planes, but been doing that a little bit less in recent years.
Yeah.
And just anything on the internet. The viewers are very helpful in that they'll, in the comments of videos, will suggest things, or I'll get tweeted something. So it's really a list that's growing faster than we can shrink it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess once this is all sorted, the pandemic and stuff, you could possibly shoot a few more.
Yeah. I've almost forgotten what Dan looks like at this point.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need a replacement, I'm also an Afro-English guy who's called Dan. So, I'm joking, of course. Is there anything you still want to get? Like, is there a holy grail of slow-mo, so to speak, or have you already got that with the speed of light thing? I feel like there are some things that would just be magic to get. Lightning was a big one for a long time. Yeah.
Just because I think nature is unbeatable in terms of a slow-mo subject. Yeah. I think there are a few on our list that we always, it depends on where we are and like how much time we have, because we'll look at our big list, we'll pick a few easy ones and then maybe pick one of the more bigger setup ones. And there are some that are quite a big setup that we've just had sat on the list for a long time. Okay. And a lot of those times we'll wait for a sponsored video or something that gives us extra budget to do. But yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of our head that has been, I'm sure there is though, I'd have to look at the list.
Well, I mean, I've watched, I want to say at least 70% of your channel.
Blimey.
And
well, thanks for that.
That's okay. I mean, I've probably funded some of your, but have you ever shot a meteorite before, shooting star?
No.
Do you reckon it'd be possible?
That'd be so difficult. Yeah, I feel like if I had all the information ahead of time, like where it's going to be, and just a really long lens, it'd be very interesting.
It'd be tough because obviously there's a quadrant where they come from. So you wouldn't be able to get the exact location, but there'd be a general area. But I thought that'd be quite cool.
I feel like there's also there is a lot more that I'd like to do with bullets too, but you do risk demonetization on YouTube when you're doing bullets if it feels like it's just look, guns. I feel like there is a lot of interesting. It's unfortunate that the guns also have all the negative connotations and cause demonetization, because it's an interesting baseline for speed, because I feel like everyone's seen a gun in a film.
Yeah.
So it is interesting I wanted to do a video where we race glass cracking with a bullet. So like have got a long pane of glass, crack it at one end, film the travel, and also have a bullet being fired at the same time below it. So you'd see, it puts into perspective like, wow, glass cracks really fast.
I remember that episode.
With a bullet.
Yeah, it was quite shocking, wasn't it? How fast it cracked from one end to the other.
Yeah. So I think if you put it in the context of something else fast or something that appears quite slow in comparison, it'd be interesting. Yeah,
that was the other thing I didn't realise is, I mean, I'm so naive with this sort of stuff, but I didn't realise that a lot of bullets travel different speeds, because you did that one where you raced to the bullets, didn't you?
Yeah, we realised that the fastest bullet we filmed, or the slowest bullet we filmed, was closer to someone throwing something than it was to the fastest bullet.
Compared to the fastest
one,
and
to the eye, it's like, well, bullets fast. All bullets are fast. But when you actually have the ability to see which bullets are fast and which are slow, that's also quite an interesting way to look at things.
Absolutely. The other thing was, I know you've done a couple of animals-related stuff before, haven't you? A few things to do with animals. The pistol shrimp would be awesome. It's got like a really fast.
They cause
thing.
like really like cavitation in the water.
Yeah. And then Catz brought something up the other day about an ant that's got a jaw that shuts. What was it, Catz? The speed?
Oh, it was the acceleration rather.
The acceleration.
Speed. It was in the thousands, or if not hundreds of thousands of meters per second squared. The acceleration. It was just phenomenally ridiculous.
It's quite deceptive that some animals can have. I mean, it's not a lot of movement. Like even with like a mantis shrimp and pistol shrimp, it's not moving that far. And I assume the same with the ant jaw. But the amount of acceleration and brief period of top speed is just obscene to think about. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. But there is. There's loads of ideas, isn't there? That's what I'm talking about. There's so many ideas you could do. I mean, honestly, I could talk all day about slow-mo stuff, but we must move on. We're going to have a quick break and go to our section we call Catz Curiosity. And this is where Catz brings us a piece of science news that has interested him over the last week, and we're going to discuss it. What have you got, mate?
Well, it's something that it's not news that's up to date news. It's something that I saw that I wasn't aware of. And I'm sure when I say it, everybody's going to say, well, I was aware of that. I knew it, but I never knew it. So I'm going to tell you anyway what I didn't know, show my ignorance. But I was reading an article on dinosaurs and sex, and I've sent you a photograph, which you may or may not want to put on the podcast, of two turtles who were fossilized while they were mating.
Yeah.
But no such evidence has ever been found for dinosaurs whatsoever. And as a result, it is a complete and utter mystery how some species of dinosaurs ever actually mated. There's a few things that lead to this. One of them is that, unlike maybe like elephants or mice, dinosaurs didn't have a penile bone. So when the soft tissue disappears, it's almost impossible with some versions of some dinosaurs, when we look at the fossils, to tell whether they were male or female in the first place. That becomes even more accentuated when we realize that when they were alive, the amount of sexual dimorphism in dinosaurs, the differences between male and female, was actually very, very, very small. And they may not have even been able to recognize visually each other, whether one was a male or a female. Anyway, most dinosaurs, just like birds and crocodiles, they have the cloaca that they touch together. Just touch together. That's how it's done. So it is at school. Yeah. And the reproductive organs are hidden inside of those. But what caught my eye as I was reading about this was that there's a dinosaur called the Kentrosaurus. Now, this dinosaur is absolutely huge, and the logistics of being able to touch, they call it like cloacal kissing, the logistics of being able to touch the cloaca while they're mating, it's so difficult that scientists have put together for this particular dinosaur everything they know about it, and they've modeled all the different positions that these dinosaurs may or may not be able to have mated in. And because they've got these horrendously sharp spines on the backs, and they're covered in, tough armor, and the huge beasts, they took into account weight bearing, they've actually decided that it was almost physically impossible. And in the vast majority of scenarios, these spikes would end up in the castration of one of the individuals. So I don't know. It's not news, but it's like a mystery. Like nobody knows how these dinosaurs could possibly physically have touched their cloacas together without seriously injuring or killing each other, or even weight bearing. So there we go.
So they didn't come up with a favourable position then?
No, there were some hypotheses of maybe they need to go into shallow waters, so to help with the weight bearing, and then they could move into different positions they wouldn't be able to move into on land. See, because most like crocodiles today and some of the smaller dinosaurs weight beared on all four legs, but bipedal dinosaurs, obviously, they didn't do that, and they were just saying they just in terms of balance, or they just couldn't figure out how they could do it. So small, shallow bodies of water was one of the favorite ideas, but they said that was a bit ridiculous considering the where they come from. And so, they just don't know.
Wow. Have you ever heard anything that interesting, Gav?
That is very interesting, because I do remember on, was it Walking with Dinosaurs? They were trying to figure out how some of these dinosaurs could squat down and lay their eggs. Yeah. And they ended up sort of saying that they put a tube down and it sort of slowly released. But there was this whole question about we don't actually know how they do this, so here's a guess. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
The Diplodocus. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
Well, yeah, because Diplodocus is so big that the egg it lays is only about the size of a soccer ball, isn't it? And the drop is massive.
Yeah,
yeah, and that kind of features as well. Like, how do they lay them without them breaking? Because they're not supple enough to get down.
Yeah, great point. I was just going to say, be careful, mate, because the conspiracy theorists will start clipping you with it's not possible for dinosaurs to exist because they couldn't mate. You know they will. You know they will, mate. Thanks, mate. That was interesting. Good stuff. Now,
thank you.
Now, Gav, Catz and I, we combat flat earthers on our respective channels, and we've got a bit of a bone to pick with you because did you know? You probably do know this, that one of your clips has been used relentlessly by flat earthers.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah,
and you do a very honourable task in your combating of this. But yeah, that's something I've never been able to escape. Just completely, just out of context clip from slow-mo guys being used.
Yep.
It's like a ultimate proof of to how there's a flat Earth.
I guess you didn't think at the time that you'd get a load of flat earthers saying that means that if the Earth rotates, the water would fly off it.
Yeah, if the Earth rotated at 30 million miles an hour, it might, I suppose.
Yeah. That's what we say. We say, I'll tell you what, get a ball, get it wet, stand there and rotate it once in 24 hours and let us know how you get on. Like, no, it's 1,000 miles an hour.
I literally spun it so fast Dan spun it so fast that it was rotating multiple times in a second.
Did you work out?
We had to film it with a slow-mo camera.
Yeah.
It's sort of.
Did you work out the exact RPM of it? Because I think I did a video once where I got that clip and I figured out the exact RPM from your info.
Sat down and figured that out, but I'm sure if a day on Earth was 0.2 of a second, then we would have problems with the water.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I figured it out about 3,000 RPM, something like ridiculous like that. Something like that. Yeah, it was 300 or 3,000, which is obviously completely way too fast for how the Earth rotates. But I mean, honestly, I don't know about you, Catz, the amount of times I've seen that clip in in a flat Earth like promo video or something, montage. Yeah, it's ridiculous how many times I've seen it. You should start copyrighting them.
Take them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could do takedowns on them. I don't really usually do that, even if it's a re-upload, because I'm just not that fussed about.
You'd be there a while, I think. There's that many.
It's nice to spread the footage of stuff usually, but it's just it's slightly infuriating that it's become a piece of evidence for the flat Earth, because I feel like there's so much evidence that disproves the flat Earth that it's one of those annoying things where it's like you show someone the evidence, which is really all you can do. Here's proof that the Earth isn't flat, and then they just dismiss it, argue around it. It's like, well, if the evidence doesn't work, we've got nothing. And then for them to have a piece of evidence, it's quite irritating.
I can imagine it is. I mean, Catz had something similar. He was explaining, what were you explaining? Something about gas pressure, weren't you? Because the flat earthers don't think that space is real. They don't think that there could be an atmosphere because the vacuum of space would suck it off. And Catz was talking about gas pressure, weren't you, Catz, or something? On a board, and someone kind of misquoted him, and one of the well-known flat earthers misquoted him and kind of used it against like us as like an argument, didn't they?
Yeah, but they didn't even. That's the only thing. They didn't even They used the wrong quote. I was basically saying that there's a balloon can't experience pressure unless the balloon is in the. It was following on from something else, but unless the balloon is there inside some gas, it's obviously not going to feel any pressure from the gas outside. Now that sounds very random when I say it in isolation, but the flat earthers, they took that to mean that I was saying we have to have a container for the atmosphere. I don't know how they could take, but they did.
They did it for ages, didn't they? So did you find a lot of comments on that video in particular from flat earthers or people that were sent from flat earthers?
On the video itself, I'm not sure. I don't think I've really looked. It didn't happen immediately. I think that video sort of popped up on the flat earthers after a while. Yeah. And I think at the time it came out was probably when I last read the comments. So I don't think I saw anything there. But I have been tweeted it a lot, being like, "Are you aware that this video is being used on flat Earth?" And it's like, it's funny. It's funny that they've taken it, but also it's just a little bit tragic, really, because it's just misconception of. Yeah. And the great thing about slow-mo, I think, is that you don't necessarily need to learn, you don't necessarily need to know a lot about the subject, because slow-mo can teach you. You can just stare at the stuff and be like, oh, well, I've learned something there. So to have that work in sort of a misinformation and a misinformed way is interesting. I don't think we've ever had that before.
Yeah, I bet. I wouldn't worry too much, because it's so ridiculous the way they use it. Is, you know, it would only convince like the dumbest of people. That sort of clip. Like, you know, the average person understands that the Earth doesn't rotate that fast. So
yeah,
you know, yeah, don't worry too much. Does anyone ever doubt, talking of conspiracy theorists and stuff, does anyone doubt what you guys do? Do you ever get comments saying you've used CGI or something like that?
We were accused, not in a conspiracy way. There was a video we put out that everyone thought was CG, and that was the fire tornado. Just because you're not used to seeing fire rotating in such a way where it looks like a, I don't know, nicely laid out sheets of flames. Because fire is usually, you know, it's all over the place. Yeah. There's not a real edge to it. It's sort of very, you know, it's like plasma, isn't it? You're just looking through some of it. You're seeing the front of some of it. But to have it all uniformly spinning and in slow-mo, it did look fake. Like, we were watching it thinking, that is bizarre. That doesn't look real at all. But it's the same in when you look at fire from underneath. Like, if you've got like a load of fire shooting out of like a pipe, and you actually look underneath, it looks like balls. Whereas you're never used to seeing the underneath of a flame, because usually that's the fuel source, that's the wick, or that's the whatever you're holding. So that was quite an interesting one. And the one that we did have a few sort of conspiracy comments about was when I did a video showing that face masks prevent droplets flying out of your face while you're talking. And all I did was just backlight. You didn't even really need slow-mo for that. You just, you know, backlight your mouth and talk, and you can see just micro droplets fly out. But in slow-mo, you were able to see the really small ones. And everyone was just saying that I wasn't doing this. I wasn't doing it the same. Like, I wasn't coughing the same or sneezing the same when I wasn't wearing it. I was doing it more forcefully without the mask. But I really wasn't. It's you don't even need a slow-mo camera. You can just do that experiment yourself.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to things like that, at the moment, there's going to be a ton of people who are.
It's one of the same frustrations where it's like, I've got the evidence is right here. You can just see it. There's no like sciencey talk or anything. It's just your eyes looking at footage that I shot. That's good evidence. But it's always going to be argued around to the point where that's why I really respect what you do, in that you have the patience for it, where I just feel like people denying the evidence, I'm just like, well, you know, nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. No, thanks very much. It means a lot, because Catz has had quite a bit of success. He's had a couple of people come back from flat Earth, haven't they? And
that's amazing.
Mentally, it's a
that
massive.
Must be so satisfying.
A massive thing. Yeah, like, you can literally see people's lives turn around, can't you?
I've never heard of anybody who's got into those kind of rabbit holes whose life has improved because of it, you know. Yeah. And the sad thing is, they get so passionate about it that they drag other people with them, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And with it comes other conspiracies, and it's I guess easier for those people to buy into stuff that directly affects their health or the health of other people. That's why I've never really gone in with the flat Earth arguers, because at the end of the day, when I was first thinking about it, I was like, well, you know, it doesn't really affect anyone.
Yeah.
But it's like, those people are then susceptible to potentially more dangerous stuff. And I feel like if you're believing the flat Earth stuff, then you'll believe anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think over time, Catz and I have figured out, and we've kind of highlighted, the main problem is the flat earthers who are big on these platforms with the tens of thousands of followers, who not only will repeat the flat Earth stuff, they'll repeat the COVID stuff and the moon landing stuff and the evolution stuff. And literally, if you're flat Earth, you're guaranteed to be pretty much 3 or 4 or 5 other conspiracies as well. Being in Texas, how does that fare with conspiracies?
Well, I mean, COVID has been interesting here, because, I mean, technically Austin is in stage 5, which is the highest for COVID. Like, all the ICUs are full, ventilator usage is at max. And it's just because so many people here never really cared about COVID at any point, to the point where it was like, my hair grew down to here because I was just worried about everyone. You know, it's like we all have to do this together. We all have to do the lockdowns. But then you'd see 6th Street and it was like nothing happened. Well, 6th Street is like where everyone goes out, you know, on the weekends, and they close the street and there's people everywhere. And it was like nothing happened, to the point where I was very happy to get vaccinated and get back out, you know, amongst other people, because I took it very seriously pre-vaccine. Yeah. But now, even though I'm fully vaccinated and everyone I know is, we're slightly scared to go out again, not because COVID is so bad, but because the ICUs are full, to the point where if I get in a car accident, there's not really anywhere that it's just like it's just an interesting like healthcare in general situation here, where it is a bit nerve-wracking to do anything that is even slightly dangerous. Like I'm sat at home, you know, like chopping veg, just thinking, better be extra
what's the
careful.
arteries? Yeah. What's the vaccination take up like in Texas?
It's better in Austin, because Austin is the more liberal city of them, but as a state, pretty bad. I think between 50 and 60%.
Oh wow. I don't know if you kept track of England, but I think we're almost 90% now with 2 vaccines almost.
Oh, is that how? Yeah, we're not far off, are we? Yeah, we're doing well.
Pretty close.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I've really missed being in England throughout this period. And I actually was able to go back a few months ago just to see my family after I was really just waiting for myself and my family to be fully vaccinated, because that's what felt the safest, because I've got elderly grandparents and I was really excited to see them. Yeah,
absolutely. How do you compare the conspiratorial mindset of the general public between the US and the UK?
I feel like I don't want to generalize, because I've not really, I've not taken good samples of both places. Yeah. It does feel a bit more mental here. It feels a bit more extreme here in terms of people buying into that. And it's the same with, look at the numbers of the last presidential election. Yeah. Biden won, but you still had over 70 million people voting for Trump. Mm. And I think it's a similar amount of people having not been vaccinated in the US, or at least higher than that, but it does seem slightly more extreme. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what causes that. We're not that different in culture.
No, and when we talk about flat earthers, Catz will agree, there's a very similar amount of flat earthers, isn't there, UK and US? Mm. And yeah. In fact, most of the UK flat earthers are, no offence, Catz, from up north, aren't they?
I can count about 6 or 7 that are probably within an hour from my house easily. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know hardly any that are south of London at all. I don't know what that means, and I'm not saying anything, but yeah, it's very odd. From what we see, from all the conspiratorial stuff we see online, there isn't a huge difference between America and the UK.
Interesting.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, Texas in general has been. I've lived here for 9 years, and I've loved it for like 95% of the time. Yeah. I think it's a great place, but just recently, especially with the pandemic, and there's new laws that about the abortion laws that I'm sure you've heard about.
Yes,
It's just like such massively backward steps, to the point where I end up just like looking at the year on my phone. It's like 2021, and just blown away that this is a new law that's come in. I'm just like, it just seems, I just don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
But it happens, and it's scary.
It's weird. It's slightly different, isn't it? Because the states can make their own laws, can't they? It's not countrywide like it is here.
Yeah, it makes it very confusing about what is legal in which state, and the amount of power that a governor of a state has in terms of they can even go against the president in a lot of cases, and then it becomes a bigger issue in Congress or the Senate. But it's like it's a lot to keep track of. There's 50 of them. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm fascinated by American politics. I've looked into it quite a bit, and it's a huge thing, isn't it, to get your head around. Anyway, let's lighten the tone. And we'll finish with the scientist game. So, Catz are you 4-2 up, Catz?
4-3. It's either 3-3 or on 4-3.
I think it's 4-3, yeah. So Catz is 4-3 up. It's normally Catz versus the guest. So this is the point where our guests face off against Catz. I'm going to start reading some facts about a scientist in chronological order, and the first person to correctly guess that scientist wins the point. So, no pressure, Gav, but for the guests,
Quite a lot of pressure, though, isn't it?
you've got to pull this back for the guests. Okay, get the tension music going. Okay. Born 1955 in London, England. From 1969 to 1973, went to the Emmanuel School in London. In 1976, graduated from Oxford with a degree in physics. In 1978, got a job for DJ Nash writing typesetting software. Tough one, this. In 1980, worked as an independent contractor at CERN in Switzerland. In 1981, started a computer networking job. In 1984, went back to CERN to work permanently. Got to think about the timings here. In 1990, produced the first version of the World Wide Web, first web browser and first server.
Thing is, I know who this is and I can picture him, but I know that I don't know his name. In
1991, launched the World Wide Web on the internet. Come on.
I feel like I should know who that was.
Is it Stephen something?
No, that's Steve Jobs. That was Apple, mate.
No, I can picture him. I've seen him. Or was it Colin something? It's like a...
And in 2004, became a professor in computer science at the great Southampton University. Could this be the first week that we have a tie? Because no one can get it.
I can picture him, but I don't know his name. Hang on.
Basically,
I'm not even close. I don't even know that one person did all of those first things.
I know. I didn't know half of those, but basically I could have said at the
bloke.
start, basically invented the internet. That's what I could have said. No guesses. It's going to stay 4-3. It's Tim Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee.
Even now you've said it, and I have seen programs on him. Even now you've said it, it's not like, oh, that it was him. Yeah, the name rings about. I never would have got that in a million years. But I can picture him. I can picture his face. He looks like a Colin. He should be. That's the same thing. So I'll have half a point.
Unlucky.
Maybe you should get the point if he looked like a Colin.
Yeah.
That's unlucky. That's the first time, unfortunately, that we didn't get an answer. But to be fair, I mean, I've done things like Einstein and stuff like that. So this was really kind of the first one that was quite niche. But what are you going to do? 4-3 to Catz. Well done. Well done, mate. You're still in the lead. Hey, the guy, I need a guest who can beat him because he's getting a bit big-headed. Honestly.
Yeah, I've let you down there.
It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, Gav, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I say this all the time that I could talk about the topic all day, but I genuinely could talk about slow-mo stuff and your channel all day long. Honestly, it's been a pleasure watching over the last few years, and I've still got another 30% of the channel to watch, so I'll be doing that, don't worry. We are done. Next week, Catz, we've got, do you know Jim Browning?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim Browning. He fights the telephone scammers, doesn't he? Plays them at their own game, and he exposes them. So we'll have a good chat with them about what he does. That should be good fun. But for now, we're done. Thanks very much. Have a good week, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, lads.